You're listening to The Vidaurri Effect with your host, Rudy Vidaurri, owner of the Apex Predator MMA gym in Rancho Cordova, California, co-hosted by Jennifer Steele. Now here's Rudy. It's on.
My name is Sensei Rudy Vidaurri. I'm a mixed martial arts coach and private trainer, and you're listening to The Vidaurri Effect. Today I want to talk about procrastination, something that I think a lot of people are better at than they think. And it's funny, as I was driving into the studio today, I've been so busy with a new opportunity, coaching and still, doing my coaching for Apex Predator on the side, and it's easy for things to get put on the back burner, but I'm blessed with a new opportunity to coach elsewhere. And sometimes you start thinking about other things, and it's easy to forget about the things that are right in front of you. This podcast means a lot to me, but it occurred to me earlier that I didn't have a subject for today's episode, right? So then therein lies the problem, right? And therein lies the subject, which is procrastinating, which is pretty easy to do. I think we're all guilty. I like to get out in front of things. I get too much anxiety. Not sure about you listeners, but I get too much anxiety if I put things off and off and off. I like to kind of tackle things ahead of time and get out in front of them, like I always say, so that I don't have to worry about it on the back end. Sometimes when life gets in front of you and you got a lot of busy things going on, for example, I've had mediation, starting a new job, like dealing with a lot of different things, custody battle, the new year, all the new endeavors that come with the territory of that, there's no excuse, but, sometimes you have to keep organized and make sure that everything you're doing that you're passionate about is right in front of you. So, my challenge to you guys in this new year, anything that you guys have been putting off, and today's episode wasn't something that I was putting off. I just have a lot on my plate and I forgot to come up with a subject. But, for the people that really struggle with procrastination, I'm talking about the people that have put off better health. I'm talking about the people that have put off better relationships. I'm talking about the people that have put off better money. I'm speaking to you right now. The reasons that you guys are holding yourself back and self-sabotaging, you can't blame on others. And yes, there will be some things that are out of your control for why something hasn't happened yet. But one thing I've realized as I've gotten older is that nobody is going to sit there and come to your rescue. A lot of times in life we think that, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. But if you always have that mindset, you're going to look back one day and realize that it's passed you by. And fortunately enough, in my situation, I've been able to capitalize on a lot of things. My mixed martial arts career as a coach, my time with my children, and the memories that I have from that, that we create every day. Being a musician, I love to play guitar. I love to play bass. Spending time with the people I really care about. I know that every one of the people in my life that means something to me knows exactly how much they mean to me because I don't hesitate to say it. And hesitation is probably the worst recipe for anything you want to have success in. Hesitation with anything, whether it's a girl you're going after, whether it's money, whether it's your health, and I talk about those three things a lot because those are three things that people really struggle with. People struggle with their health. People struggle with their relationships. People struggle with their finances. And if you're waiting around for something to land in your lap, I guarantee you people are more concerned about the things that they're dealing with than your stuff, buddy.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So, what better time than now, and it's better to get organized and have a plan. Being strategic in martial arts is part of how I coach. There always has to be a game plan. It's a chess match, right? Especially in combat sports. But in life, you also have to have a plan too, because if you just decide and you wake up one day with the emotion that you want to do something different, that's not enough. A lot of people think that's enough. They just wake up one day and decide, this is what I'm going to do differently now. But it's not sustainable. It's like a diet. People that want to change their health, that diet, it never works because diets are only temporary. What you need is lifestyle change when it comes to procrastination, because then it becomes who you are, not what you're doing temporarily, right? Food. I see people that I train, and unfortunately we're in a society where women are held to this unrealistic standard in this time where you have Instagram influencers and models that look like, it's almost ridiculous. It's too fake.
It is.
It's like, show me a real woman now, But unfortunately, women are held to those standards and they feel like they have to compete with that, right? So you have this culture where, unless it's absolutely perfect, it's like this Barbie culture. I mean, it doesn't look like a real girl anymore. The hips are exploded out,
I know.
The lips are huge, their eyelashes can tie onto their hair. It's ridiculous, right? But they feel like, okay, well, I'm going to starve myself for 20 days and then I'm going to lose 5 pounds and blah, blah. It's like, listen, what your goals and what you're procrastinating about, listen, if your goals aren't for the right reasons too, and if your goals aren't sustainable, it's going to be unrealistic for you to meet unrealistic expectations. Think about the expectations you're trying to realistically meet, first of all, right? And if they're not realistic, then it's not a realistic goal, but your own goals and your own standard and setting the bar for yourself to have better health needs to be sustainable. It needs to be a game plan. It needs to be strategized. It's a chess match, right?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
I struggled for a long time I still do, with my weight. I've never been one of those people who had a good metabolism. But I have to work at it. And for a long time, it was very depressing because I would do a diet and then, you feel like you're being deprived. So you mess up on the diet and then you don't lose any weight and then you give up on the diet and that kind of thing. I had to find something that worked for me, which happened to end up being high protein, low carb, right? Mm-hmm. I can do that because there's plenty of things I like to eat that are high protein and low carb.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out. Yeah. So I could eat. And what that did for me was help me get over the procrastination of feeling like I'm always having this struggle with my weight.
Oh, yeah. And there are easy plans, the simplest one. And, I'm giving away about 20 grand worth of advice in the next 2 minutes here, but is to, help people lose weight. I always recommend this, right? And listen carefully. All right. Alert, right? Is that if you intermittent fast, right, and you do it the right way, and you replace one meal with a liquid, like I like to do juicing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and I'm not talking about steroids, not my thing, but I'm talking about actual like carrot juice or celery juice, right? And, they have different brands that have blends where it's like kale and apples and ginger.
I saw that at the store the other day, the frozen packages.
Yeah, Suja brand has an organic, bottle that is cold pressed, and I drink that every morning, and it gets me energized and it doesn't have any caffeine, but it just makes me feel good. It breaks the fast, and then lunch can be a really big meal. You guys can eat really big lunches with carb heavy because that if you're exercising, you're burning it out throughout the course of the day, you're going to be able to burn off those calories. Dinner shouldn't be eaten anytime after 7 or 7:30.
No way.
And it should be a low carb meal if you're trying to lose weight, right? So if you do like a green juice in the morning, you do a big time lunch, you can eat whatever you want, within reason, right? And you do some form of exercise either in the morning or the afternoon, and then you eat before 7 or 7:30 at night with a low carb meal, i.e. vegetables, meat, right? Maybe a salad, maybe just some, roasted Brussels sprouts with a little dill and some olive oil and lemon juice, right? And you have like, a New York steak or a grilled chicken breast, that's a low carb meal, where people get into trouble is when they procrastinate. They don't meal plan. They don't plan ahead. They don't strategize like we're talking about. And they end up coming back from work. They get stuck there late. Maybe the boss asks them to hang around and do a couple extra things, and then they find themselves in the drive-thru at In-N-Out Burger. And then my favorite, getting 2 4x4s, not just the doubles, the 4-patty. I get the 2 4x4s, the fries, strawberry shake, and a Sprite.
Oh my goodness.
And don't act like a Diet Coke is going to make a difference because it is not. Happy New Year.
I will not let myself eat a hamburger with 2 buns. I either get it without the bun or I eat one bun. You know what I mean? Like
the lettuce wrap kind of deal.
Yeah.
And that's good. It's delicious. Listen, if you're hungry enough, like anything is going to taste pretty good. Yeah. Hunger is the best sauce, but like that's sustainable. you still can eat. You still can eat kind of like whatever you want, really. But as long as you're eating before a certain time, and as long as you're replacing one meal with a juice, and you're not snacking late into the night, that's a recipe if you exercise along with that, and a regimen that is tailored for success and that is sustainable.
Being prepared, like you said, is key. If you're not prepared, it's not going to work.
It's not, and maybe take the time. Procrastination. If you have an extra 2-3 hours on a Sunday, and you're sitting there watching a ball game, or you're doing something, or you're moping around, it's a good time to maybe go to the store. You can go to Costco, buy bulk chicken breast or chicken thighs. You can get a decent marinade. If you have a grill outside, or if you have an oven, or if you have a stovetop, these are things that you can cook off in advance. You can freeze portions, and then you can make some broccoli, or you can steam a pot of rice, or you can do things that are easy hanging fruit that are low cost. And then you got yourself a meal, and then you have that in the fridge every day. You can change it up. You can make things different. You can make yourself teriyaki chicken. You can do kind of you can get a good steak marinade. You can grill some steak up. There are different ways to keep it interesting too, because the common misconception is that not eating, or that eating healthy, I should say, has to, the quality has to suffer, that the flavor has to suffer, which is not true whatsoever. On our cutting weight for fights, I cut, for the U.S. Open, I cut 29 pounds in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And it wasn't originally supposed to be 29 pounds, but it ended up being 29 pounds. But I remember just a cup of bone broth in that time, just a cup of bone broth. This was so delicious, because you appreciate it that much more. And unless you've really been hungry, people don't understand, that you can appreciate things that much more, less is more sometimes,
And speaking of bone broth, funny that you should bring that up, because I was just listening to a show overnight where they were talking about the many, many accolades of bone broth. Like it's good for so many things.
It is really good for you.
It's an anti-aging thing. Apparently.
Drink bone broth, and that's one thing that you can start your day with too. If you just kind of warm up, a couple of cups on the stovetop, you can add different things to it, like ginger, fresh ginger, or
what does
some
it
herbs.
taste like normally?
It's like chicken broth.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like chicken broth, except, a little bit, like not as stocky.
What kind of bones do they use for
the chicken bones?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they just basically like cook a chicken. They cook the shit out of a chicken for a long time. Right. And then all the nutrients and stuff from the bones, secrete into the broth. Yeah. And therein is your bone broth. Okay. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and so that's easy. That's a couple of bits, pearls of wisdom for the nutritional side of things. Procrastinating about other things, as well. A lot of people procrastinate about other, business endeavors, starting businesses. They are not happy with their jobs, and having a plan is the key, right? It's like if you're not happy somewhere, if you're not happy in a relationship, if you're not happy in your work life, at least having a plan is a good way to kind of also alleviate yourself the pressure of having to be miserable going to a job every day that you hate, right? Mm-hmm. Or and they say in Fight Club, going to doing jobs every day that we hate to buy shit that we don't need. It's like, truth. So, you gotta take it for what it's worth. If you're unhappy with your situation, and this is a common thread in the podcast, is to make a plan, to do something, to be proactive, right? Health is important. I talked about that first because a lot of people think money comes first, but health is actually the one that has to, be bigger than all of it, right? Because if your health isn't in check, then you can't be thinking about long term, right? Money and relationships. A lot of people procrastinate, and like I said, it's real convenient to be in a job where you're scraping by, and some people get just enough to buy a 6-pack after work and get a couple of burgers and, watch a ball game with a buddy, or they have their girlfriend and they can take out to date night, once every few weeks and, and they kind of settle, judging by the car I drive, I have a taste for the finer things in life. And it doesn't mean I go spend on ridiculous things like watches and stuff, but right. My black belt costs $200. It's custom embroidered from Japan. It's nice. An Isami, right? Mm-hmm. My car is a Maserati Ghibli, with a twin turbo engine and a Ferrari engine, 410 horsepower, all-wheel
practical.
drive. Yeah, so practical. So when you do it, you got to do it right. Right? Yep. But then again, I'm wearing the same MMA shorts every day, and a tank top. It's like, I am extremely, cheap in some respects. Mm-hmm. But then when I do something, I'll sit down to a sushi dinner, alone, and I'll eat $125 worth of sushi by myself.
Oh, yeah.
But then the rest of the time I'm making like pho at home and, spending, wisely, Mm-hmm. I pick and choose my moments. I'm selective, I guess.
I remember when you were thinking about getting that car, and I said to him, do it. Yeah. Do it. Don't even hesitate about it. Just if you want it, do it. Get it.
And that's a real friend, you guys, because, I remember there were some haters and they're like, no, you don't need it. It's like, you should get this instead. And it's like, they just, some people just don't want to see you happy. You're doing well, and for me, that car means a lot. I love that car. Mm-hmm. I have so much fun driving it. And, and there's a whole culture to it too. Mm-hmm. I'm part Italian, rocking the Trident is like in my blood, the Maserati life, mm-hmm. But, I had a few people say, yeah, I think you have to. Because I was kind of like thinking, is this, I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. Mm-hmm. and then I had a couple people say, I think you have to do this.
Yeah.
You were one of them. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I do. Like when you hear it like that, yeah, and you have to kind of almost have that same urgency, right? Or that same kind of conviction, like we talked about in the first episode, mm-hmm. being decisive with the other endeavors in your life, with your relationships, with your finances, because, if you want to enjoy those kind of things and you want to sit down to $100 sushi dinners and you want to drive nice cars and you want to wear nice things, nobody is stopping you from doing it but you, and you can make all the excuses in the world for why your boss didn't give you that promotion. Your boss didn't give you that promotion probably because he's threatened by you coming up and taking his, fuck your boss, right? I don't mean literally. I mean, like, forget them, like look and seek out better opportunities to create those for yourself. Go into business for yourself, if it's relationships, and this is a hard one. It's a hard one because a lot of people, for all the right reasons they have to leave, they have a lot of other reasons that kind of they can rationalize and sticking around with, and that's difficult because sometimes there's familiarity. You're comfortable. There's routine. You don't want to hurt the other person. The other person might be going through something that you feel like you'd feel bad about leaving them in that circumstance. But if the bad outweighs the good, and I want you to remember this, if the bad outweighs the good, then you have every right to walk away from that situation. If it's no longer what it once was, if you are living off the past, I'll say it again, if you are living off the past and you feel indebted to somebody, that's emotional blackmail. That's another reason that you should be gone, right? And if a person is flat out being abusive or controlling or treating you poorly or speaking down on you or guilt tripping you into staying with them, that is especially a reason that you should walk away, And walking away from my marriage was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made, mm-hmm. both for me and for my kids. Mm-hmm. And as hard as it was, because I procrastinated in that too, and it probably caused me a lot more trouble now with this whole custody thing and with the divorce, and I could have gotten it out of the way sooner, but I held on for as long as I could for all the wrong reasons. But I walked away for all the right ones.
Yeah.
So if you're in that boat, you're not alone. And you need to remember that because there's a lot of other people that are also in a similar set of circumstances. It is not easy. But remember, we as people are defined by making the hard decisions, by having the hard conversations, by doing the hard things, by being out of our comfort zone and being able to rise above the moment and see the bigger picture and having that clarity and having that strength to do things that are hard. And maybe that's my challenge to you, as we come into this new year, we're still in January. Make a hard decision this week. Make a hard decision. Think about the trajectory of your life, where you are and where you want to be by this time next year. and think about 3 hard decisions you need to make for your health, for your finances, and for your relationships.
It's good advice.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you can think of one right now. I'm sure all of you guys, it's glaring you right in the face, but for whatever reason, what's the P word? And for those of you with dirty minds, no, that's not what I'm talking about, because I have a dirtier mind than you, I promise you. I am talking about procrastination. Say it with me, kids. Procrastination. All right. Don't do it. Don't do it anymore. As we're coming towards the end of this episode, it's real easy. It's real easy to get caught up in these things, and it's nobody's fault. One thing you don't want to do is get down on yourself for procrastinating all this time, because that's also going to cause more procrastination, right? So feeling guilty, feeling regret. These are two common peas in a pod, right? And people have guilt and people have regret about things that they've done in their life,
or things they haven't done.
And maybe you're the person who's holding somebody back. On the flip side, I'm speaking to the people that I am life coaching to make better decisions. But at the same time, if you are listening to this podcast and you are somebody who has held somebody back from doing something that is better for them, and you know that you are holding them back from doing something that is better for them, you got to take a look at yourself in the mirror and be able to live with that every day. And you are procrastinating by trying to control somebody and by holding somebody back and by not letting somebody realize their potential and live out their dreams. You are guilty. You should have regrets for that. But you should let go of those quickly, and it is rectifiable if you are able to change the course, right? If you are able to change, it doesn't matter what we've done before. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. It's been pretty well documented. I've been in trouble with the law. I have, dealt with, my own respective struggles, with addiction, all of which I overcame many years ago to now be able to mentor and help others, right? Mm-hmm. And coach others through the same afflictions, right? But, when are you going to change it? I had to wake up one day and realize, this is always going to be the same thing unless I just make the decision to improve myself, to better myself, to do better things, to want better things, because in the end, it's about your self-esteem, that you deserve better things in life. And all the tragedies I suffered, losing my dad, losing my son, all the things that were hard for me to overcome, it made me that much stronger. And, albeit some people could use those as reasons, as excuses, right? I didn't let it break me. I didn't let it be a convenient out. I didn't let it be my easy way out. It's like the Rocky song, no easy way out, right? From the Rocky soundtrack, right? Those are things that you have to take personal pride in, and the challenges that you're faced with, the challenges that you overcome, and that having your plan and starting now, today, immediately, is going to be in your best interest. What do you think, Jen?
I couldn't agree more. I think we've all been through those situations where we can relate to having felt that way. Yeah. I've had times in my life I haven't quite felt on par where I should be. Yeah. And I was thinking when you were talking about the divorce, when I left my daughter's dad, she was real young still. And it was an agonizing decision because I knew I was taking myself out of her life every day. And that was the hardest part for me, was she's used to me being there all the time. And now I'm not going to be, and it was really rough and difficult. But I ended up doing it, and it was the right decision. It took a little bit for that to come about. But I was glad I made it once I had some time to sit back and think about it.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes in these hard decisions, there will be something that tests you to see how bad you want it. It's going to tug at your heartstrings. It's going to make you feel uncomfortable. It's going to make you squirm a little bit, and those are the hard decisions that make them hard decisions. That's what makes it a hard decision, right?
Yeah. Because
if it was easy, everybody would just be able to I'm just going to pull the plug on this and see you later, unless you're a sociopath, right?
Yeah, totally.
but the idea, and I've known some of those too, but won't name names. But, at the end of the day, making the hard decision is what makes it the hard decision. And I wish you the best of luck in this new year. As we continue on with the Vidaurri Effect, you can check it out on apexpredatormma.com. Stay blessed.
The Vidaurri Effect is a Steel Voices production, recorded, produced, mixed, and engineered at Cat House Studios by Jennifer Steele. Hosted and created by Rudy Vidaurri, owner of the Apex Predator MMA gym in Rancho Cordova, California. More info and full episodes available at apexpredatormma.com, steelvoices.com, and wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening to The Vidaurri Effect.